Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Scarlet Fu. We're counting you down to the closing bell, and here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with our friends Tim Stenovec, Jennifer Ryan in today for Carol Massar. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms as we count you down here to those closing bells, Tim. And this is a pretty good day here. 1.5% on the S&P, 2% on the NASDAQ. That big dip that we saw yesterday that had put that rally on pause, that's now a thing of the past.
Did everyone just forget about what Jay Powell said yesterday? I mean, is that what's happening here? I don't know.
Did he say anything different than what he said on November 1st?
No, but I think hawkish tilt is the term that a lot of people are going with. We did speak earlier to Rob Hayworth over at U.S. Bank Asset Management. He made a really interesting point about the companies that are doing the best today, the companies at the top of the S&P 500, the mega-cap tech companies. He said that shows that investors are still worried about higher rates for longer because they're buying companies that aren't necessarily relying on the debt market for funding for their future growth, so they won't necessarily be subject to those higher rates, Jennifer.
I know, and it's a very tricky calculus for a corporate treasurer because, you're kind of getting two different things. On the one hand, you had a little bit more dovish tone to the Fed minutes, and now we've got Powell and some other Fed officials coming out and trying to tamp back on that. But still, we've got to look ahead to retail sales. We've got inflation numbers next week, so that could help give a clearer picture.
Yeah, I was trying to take a look, too, at kind of just how much conviction was behind some of the moves that we've seen in equities. I mean, this is a broad-based rally on the day, but when you really add it up on a weekly basis here, you're really talking only about a third of the names in the S&P 500 are actually posting a gain on the week. Remember, those first 3 days of the week, even though we were in the green, there was relatively tepid gains here. So the strength that we're seeing here on this Friday really just kind of clawing us back, I think, to kind of where we were about a week ago. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is going to finish out the day higher, up by about 1% or about 390 points and change. The S&P 500 higher by about 68 points or 1.6%, and an official close above 4,400, 44.15 and change, which is also above that 100-day moving average. Meanwhile, the NASDAQ Composite higher by almost 300 points or 2% on the day. And for once, the Russell 2000 decides it actually wants to play along, up 1% on the day.
All right, well, this is pretty broad-based, at least in the S&P 500. Peeling back the layer there, Scarlett, you see 436 stocks in the S&P 500 higher today, only 65 moving lower. I feel bad for whoever's doing decliners, Scarlett.
Yeah, that'll be me later on.
Okay.
I look at the New York Stock Exchange, almost 3 stocks higher for everyone that is lower, and that is pretty much reflected in the industry groups as well. Chip companies are the best performers on the day and for the week as well, up about 5.5% this week. Software services and autos, that's really Tesla, bringing up the rear in terms of the best 3 performing groups. In terms of laggards, because all the industry groups are higher, food, beverage, and tobacco, telecom, and pharma. So the more traditional defensive sectors are not doing as well today.
All right, let's take a look at what's going on in terms of gainers today. I wanted to highlight Microsoft shares hitting an all-time high today, up 2.5%. The company having its best day, at least price-wise, highest price, going all the way back to 1984 when it IPO'd. Shares now trading at $369 or closing at $369.67 today. Let's talk about the best performer on a percentage basis. Microsoft on a points basis is the best performer. The best performer on a percentage basis today is Hologic, the diagnostic products company. It reported fourth quarter revenue and adjusted earnings per share that beat Wall Street's estimates. Investors sending shares of the company up by 7.3%. And then let's take a look at NVIDIA as well, because that company, among the mega cap tech companies that are leading the rally today, we saw Microsoft higher, we saw Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Meta Platforms, all among the biggest gainers on the S&P 500. NVIDIA finishing the day higher by close to 3%. It's now up for an 8th straight day. Sounds like a lot of days in a row, but weirdly, it's only its longest winning streak going back to March of this year.
All right, let's take a look at some of the decliners. It wasn't too hard to find because the ones that fell by a lot as investors continue to punish companies that don't do good, that don't make good on their forecasts. Illumina was the worst performer in the S&P 500 after the DNA sequencing company cut its full-year sales and profit outlook for a second straight quarter, off by more than 8%. Power plug, the hydrogen producer, falling as much as 46%. That is the biggest drop in a decade. Investors questioning, or I should say Plug Power, investors now questioning whether the company can survive without additional funding after it issued a warning as a going concern. At least 5 analysts downgraded the stock afterwards. And Trade Desk, this is something that Romaine highlighted yesterday when we were looking at earnings. It's a digital advertising platform giving a fairly weak forecast for revenue this quarter, raising concern, of course, about the health of the ad market overall. The CEO said that Trade Desk saw reduced spending around cell phones, media, and entertainment starting in October, although it has recovered a little bit for this month. But we also saw declines in Snap and Pinterest, which rely on advertising sales, falling in response to what happened at Trade Desk.
Yeah, let's take a look at what's going on in the Treasury space, because, of course, we did see a lot of volatility on the week. On the day here, it was definitely a bit more subdued here. You take a look at the 2-year yield, which was higher by about 3 basis points on the day. But remember, on a weekly basis, we're about 21 basis points higher than where we were a week ago. Similar moves for the rest of the curve here, which actually shifted down on the day. That included a 10-year yield down just ever so slightly, your 20-year down just about 2 basis points, and your 30-year down by about 3 basis points. But once again here, I believe with the exception of the 30-year, all of the main points across the curve are higher on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I think the question that it brings up is sort of what happens next week, everyone. When we're thinking about what Jennifer said earlier, retail sales, we get a good idea of what the consumer is feeling and experiencing, because we got a couple important companies in the consumer space reporting next week. Walmart and Target are reporting, so we'll get a good idea of what Americans are spending their money on. And then, of course, we get the economic data next week when it comes to retail sales, Jennifer. That will help us get a good understanding of that too.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one to watch, because especially where are they spending their money? Are they shifting more of their holiday spending towards the food and the stuff that really makes the traditional holiday? Is there going to be a lot of love for things like decorations, which aren't going to last the season?
A
Yeah.
lot of what? Come on, that's blasphemy. You have to spend money on decorations. What's the point?
What, you recycle your decorations?
Well, sometimes, and we buy new ones. We're very festive in our household.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten the invitation to the holiday party yet. It's so weird. I never get these invitations about these festive things.
He's always saying to check the mail.
Okay.
Home Depot is also reporting next week. So to Jennifer's point about what people are spending their money on, we know that during the pandemic, it was on your home and on everything related to freshening up your home, because suddenly people are spending 24 hours inside their home. But going forward, the big question is, if people aren't moving out of their homes and they're kind of stuck there because the housing market is frozen in place, how are they spending in that way?
Yeah, Scarlett, you can also buy Christmas decorations at Home Depot too.
Yes, you can.
And other sort of.
I thought they only
things.
sold skeletons that were like 10 stories high.
No.
They do Christmas
have you been to?
decorations too?
There's a Home Depot right next to Bloomberg World headquarters here.
I
You can
know.
do all your holiday shopping there. I guess depending on how much you love the person that you're shopping for here. But there's something for everybody.
Maybe a garbage disposal or something,
don't take
fire
advice.
extinguisher,
Don't get your wife anything
fun
for
gifts
Home
like
Depot.
that.
Bad idea.
Yeah, not a great idea.
Not that I'm speaking from experience.
Hey, we actually are interviewing the CEO of Butterball a little later in the program.
The turkey company?
Wow.
Yeah, the turkey company.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys know how much turkey prices have gone up?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah. Well, just anecdotally, yeah. At the store.
Well,
I don't know the percentage, Tim.
They're actually the same price last week that they were 1 year ago last week.
What?
Really?
According to the USDA.
Oh.
So a little bit of relief for consumers.
Are they giving
$1.14
away
a
free
pound.
turkeys this year? Because I remember last year, a lot of stores were using turkeys, either free or heavily discounted turkeys as kind of loss leaders to get people in the door.
Free turkey.
Yeah, free
I
turkey.
can't get my head around that.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody eats turkey any other time of year, so I don't know.
No,
why the
that's
prices
not
need to
true.
be
Cold
up.
Not
cuts.
true.
Cold
Yes.
cuts, right?
There we
Turkey
are.
sandwiches.
There we are.
I don't believe it.
$10.99 a pound.
I refuse to believe that anyone eats turkey outside of the holidays.
Romaine, you don't get out enough.
All right. So Romaine, when's that invitation coming to the holiday party?
There's some supply chain issues, Tim, but they will. I guarantee you, it's getting to you. Yeah.
All right. That's what
Yeah.
happens. All right. Do we have to go?
I think so, Tim.
Okay. I think I'm being told.
This is normally when Carol does that, but she always forgets.
You know who else? We're also having some salted caramel whiskey on later.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Of course.
So
What are you doing on radio? Is this what happens in November
The charm
on
line.
radio?
Jennifer, you're sitting next to all they do is really just do wine and whiskey segments for that matter, and food
on
segments.
Fridays. It's kind of how it
and
works.
that's all it is. So you're just living the life of Riley over there.
Yeah, well, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
How does turkey pair well with this whiskey?
I don't know.
Yes.
They just give us tap water here on set, so we don't get any.
Pairs well with everything.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for Beyond the Bell, our cross-platform coverage of the market close on Bloomberg TV, on radio. Radio on YouTube and Bloomberg Originals. Meantime, catch us same time, same place on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.